Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Arbor Day. How's everyone doing today? Good. Thank you for being here with us in the city. We know Arbor Day is very important, and we know you understand that too. And we're excited to talk a little bit about it and do some fun things this morning. Let's go with who likes jokes? Anyone here? Okay, good. I've got a fun little one. Hopefully, it's fun. So, and anybody can answer. So, if you know the answer, raise your hand. Here's the joke. Why do trees hate tests? Because they get stumped on the questions. Very good. So this year, 2024, marks the 25th consecutive year that Spanish Fork City has celebrated Arbor Day. That's a long time, long before you were all born. 331 trees have been planted in Spanish Fork City in the past 24 years. Again, 331 trees have been planted in our city in the last 24 years as part of this event on Arbor Day. We've had a lot of amazing programs, and they get better every year. So that's a little bit of background on Arbor Day. Well, let's go ahead then with the 4th and 5th grade park student leaders. If you'd like to do the history of Arbor Day and a tree is a gift, does that sound okay?
Arbor Day is a special holiday that encourages tree planting and our care of trees. This holiday honors how valuable trees are in our world for providing food, shelter, oxygen, and beauty. The origin started with a journalist and politician named J. Sterling Morton from Nebraska City, Nebraska. In 1855, the Nebraska Territory had almost no trees, but lots of plains and prairies. This was not great for crops, wildlife habitats, or landscape views. On January 4th, 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed a tree planting holiday to be called Arbor Day, and happened April 10th, 1872. As the perfect tree planting time in Nebraska, prizes were won by areas that planted the most trees. Other states loved this idea. In 1885, Arbor Day was named a legal holiday in Nebraska. By 1920, 45 states celebrated Arbor Day. Many countries worldwide now support Arbor Day too by planting trees in parks, neighborhoods, and forests. On this day, people plant trees, pick up litter, donate money, and learn how vital trees are. Arbor Day reminds us that simple conservation efforts from all citizens keep the world green.
Advice from a tree. Help those who find it hard to breathe.
Shade others who feel heat in their lives.
Stand tall and proud.
Be content with your natural beauty.
Go out on a limb.
Drink plenty of water.
Remember your roots.
Sink your roots into the earth.
Enjoy the view! From a tree.
I actually had the opportunity a few years ago to go out with my brother-in-law, Stephen Peterson, who's a professor at BYU, to Oregon, and he actually studies trees. That's part of his job. And he goes out and uses a tree corer and takes cores from trees to study them and be able to use these cores to look at their life cycles. He does that in Utah as well. He's currently studying some of the Great Basin trees around here that live up to 5,000 years. So some of the trees around here are way older than we can imagine. If you look at these cores right here, this is from a tree in Oregon. That right there, that little bit is just the bark. Okay, that's just a tiny, tiny amount. The rest of that is tree. Oh, and I just broke that. It's old, that's why it's dry now. A little bit past there would be the very center of the tree. Okay, all of those rings, you guys know what all the rings of the tree means, right? Which is what? how old it is. Did you know that you can tell not only how old it is, so the thickness of each ring tells you if it had a lot of growth that year or if the conditions were not so good for it that year, so it actually had to conserve its growth. It had to kind of shut itself down. And so they can tell a lot by each year of the tree by how thick or thin that tree ring is from that year. And so that kind of gives us an idea of the conditions up to 5,000 years ago, which gives us a lot of insight of what the world was like even when we weren't around, even when our ancestors weren't around. So going along with advice from the tree, being the leadership teacher, I wanted to bring in a couple of our leader in me habits. So you can tell a lot by a tree by its rings. But going along with the advice from a tree, to bring in the habit, synergize and sharpen the saw. So our trees also have a canopy of branches. Okay, that's our synergize. They work together. The roots and the branches, the roots actually will connect with the roots of other trees, and the branches will create a canopy of branches with other trees to protect each other from bad weather conditions, from winds, from strong hail, from snow, from bad rain, and from, in other places, tornadoes, hurricanes, things like that. The roots and the canopy of branches will do the same thing. And then synergize goes to those tree rings, sharpen the saw goes to those tree rings, being able to shut itself down when it needs to conserve its energy to survive for that year. So, like I said, just being leadership teacher, let's not only take advice from a tree, but let's follow the tree's habits. Leader in me.
Well, thank you so much for that. At Park Elementary, I am so impressed by everything you've shared with us so far, for you being here today and caring about trees so much. Okay, we're going to hear a little message now on the importance of trees by Bart Morrill. So I'll turn the time over to him.
Good morning. We're glad you come join us on Arbor Day. Some tree care tips. When you plant a new tree, it's pretty fragile, isn't it? And so there's some things that you want to remember not to do after planting a tree. The limbs are not big and heavy, so if you came and hung on this tree, you'd be able to climb it. But on a new tree, they're going to break, aren't they? So we don't hang on the limbs. We don't rip the branches or leaves off. If you rip a limb off the tree, it leaves a big scar and leaves it open for insects and disease. Avoid digging or scratching at the trunk or the branches. And remind friends that the trees are still growing and that we need to protect them. For many years, the Colorado blue spruce was our state tree. And I'll get to the reason this story is important, but in 2013, there was a 4th grade class in Monroe, Utah, who petitioned the governor, Gary Herbert at that time, to change the state tree from the blue spruce to the to the quaking aspen. Who knows what a quaking aspen looks like? Okay. The quaking aspen grows from one single root. And that is the reason they petitioned the governor for this tree, is because it has a commonality. All the trees you see in a grove of quaking aspen are connected, and the people of Utah are connected. And so they took this petition, and they were able to change the tree from the Colorado blue spruce to the quaking aspen. And so it shows that young people can do great things. The leaves, it's called quaking aspen because they shake in just the slightest breeze. They're really a flat leaf. Utah is home to the largest grove of quaking aspen on earth. The The aspen are called pando. It's Latin word for ice bread. And it's a huge grove that's outside of Fish Lake in central Utah. It's roughly the size of 80 football fields and weighs more than 15 jumbo jets. There's 40,000 trees that come from the one root. And so it's the biggest living organism on Earth. Pando's fall colors are so bright that they can be seen from miles away in space. Anyway, that's a little bit of information about how to care for trees and also how you can help make influence decisions here in our state. We're grateful that you're here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bart. Appreciate all that information and sharing it with us today. So back on this row behind you, you can see there are 11 London plane trees. Now, do you know what those kind of trees look like? Has anyone driven down Main Street in Spanish Fork and seen those big, and seen those big, beautiful trees? Those are London plane trees. So someday, when you're a little bit older, these trees will be big and wonderful and huge like those ones down there on Main Street. And that's excellent. Think of the shade it will provide, at that time, and just all the wonderful things. So you'll listen to your teachers, and they'll tell you which 11 or 12 students will go to which of all these trees, and then you can all take turns helping fill the holes with more dirt. There's shovels, so be careful with those, and then make sure you're listening to your teachers. And then after, you can get, there's a snack for you and some things, and if there's any trash, make sure to pick that up as well, and make sure we leave this place, better than we found it. Okay. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here, for walking here, and thank you for being here for Arbor Day 2024.